Hull Kingston Rovers last week. They've got some making up to do. Richard Owen is the fullback. Then it's Youngquest, Dixon, Thompson and Rhys Williams, who makes his debut. He's on loan from the Warrington Wolves. Rangi Chase is back after his suspension, and Danny Orr missed last week. He too is back. Up front it's Jackson. Stuart Jones is the hooker. It looks like they have a hooking crisis down at the Probiz Coliseum. Craig Hubie completes the front row. Ferris, Holmes and Mitchell complete the forwards. And on the bench it's Walker, Milner, Millington and Massey. For the coach, Ian Millwood. Now Wakefield, they were beaten 42-12 by Warrington last week. They have won just one of their last 7. The Wildcats line up like this. Mathers skippers the side at fullback. Then it's Fox, Collis, Mellors and Cockayne. Sykes and Tim Smith at scrum half. The forwards, Amor, Ayton and Raleigh. Kermond, Mariano and Washbrook. And the bench is occupied by Wood, Lauatiti, Southern and James. And Richard Agar will be glad to see the likes of Lauatiti and Southern back in action. Well, this really is a must-win game for both on a sun-drenched day here. It's the Spring Festival. It's almost like high summer. But the plain fact is that if either of these two sides first up lose, it will probably mean the end of their playoff chances, even though there are still 12 games to go. Warrington fans already in their place waiting for the second game, Warrington against Widnes. Let's now join our commentary on this first game of the Magic Weekend 2012. Barry McDermott, Terry O'Connor and Phil Clark are all awaiting alongside Rod Studd.
Well, thanks, Eddie. Manchester City fans will tell you that the Etihad Stadium actually staged the Magic Weekend a fortnight ago when their side somehow conjured up 2 goals in stoppage time to beat Queen's Park Rangers and win the Premier League. But now it's the turn of the Super League superstars to descend on this magnificent stadium. And Castleford and Wakefield will kick off this 7-game, 2-day extravaganza. As you said, both teams badly in need of a victory, both coming into this game off the back of a heavy hiding last weekend. Castleford can move up a spot above Salford in the table, and for Wakefield the incentive even higher perhaps. They too can move up a spot by beating their neighbours and avenging their victory that Cass picked up at Bellevue earlier on over Easter. Castleford, the slight favourites. What do the rest of the guys, Terry, Barry and Phil, think?
Rod, I don't think there's going to be much in this game. It was down on the pitch earlier on. The conditions are perfect and the pitch is very firm. You just got to say that it's going to come down to the team who controls the field position, who controls the ball, doesn't give silly penalties away, because it is absolutely baking down on pitch side.
Obviously, one of the vital players for Castleford is Rangi Chase, coming back after a 3-match suspension. But you have to look back to Easter for the last time he's played competitive Super League. So expect Rangi Chase with some nice touches.
Yeah, good point, Barry. Rangi Chase has missed 8 games since joining Castleford. This is his 3rd season, and they've won only 2 of the 8 games he's missed. They've lost 6. And so his importance to the team cannot be overemphasised. He comes back after a 3-game suspension after an incident with Tangira Party in the cup defeat at Featherstone, but it effectively, because of the dates of the cup ties, has been a 6-week absence for Rangi Chase. How match fit he is open to conjecture. Castleford have first use of the ball, and they'll get the first penalty of the Magic Weekend, and Andy Raleigh is the offender.
Yeah, a couple of Wakefield defenders in there. Andy Raleigh holding the non-ball carrying arm, and there may well have been a strip, and Danny Washbrook as well. First penalty of the match to the Tigers.
It is a lovely afternoon in Manchester. There is barely a cloud in the sky. It is very hot pitch side. Temperatures expected to go up into the high 20s Celsius by mid-afternoon. It is going to be warm work for the 6 sides on show this afternoon. It's Castleford Wakefield first, then Warrington and Widnes, and then the whole derby to finish. And a chance early doors as Thompson goes waltzing through, and the first try at the Magic Weekend goes to Jordan Thompson and the Castleford Tigers.
Well, Rangi Chase, the first touch of the ball already shows how important he is to the side. He just looks up and plays what's in front of him, and Jordan Thompson, he was on the end of the pass to go in for the opening try for Castleford. But Rangi Chase, these conditions will suit him, and this is the best start for Ian Millwood and his Castleford side.
Well, Jordan Thompson, alert and aware of the threat, and all these Castleford players know that Rangi Chase, whenever he gets hold of the ball, something's going to happen. All this came about from the penalty from the second tackle. Danny Washbrook, you can see it there very clearly. Short side, skips over, beautiful footwork, and Jordan Thompson, playing in the centre today, just pins his ears back and puts the ball down under the black dot.
What's important here is Chase's vision. When he sees one of the defenders who've been involved in the previous tackle still lying on the floor, he knows there's a gap, and his ability then to create space for Thompson was perfect in getting the Tigers the first try in the Magic weekend.
Kirk Dixon will surely turn Thompson's 4 into 6 for Castleford. And an ideal start for a team that, remember, shipped in 7-0 last weekend at Hull KR.
You've got to give some credit to Jordan Thompson here, because it was man-on-man against Peter Fox, and he cuts a very good line to come in very tight to take a simple pass from Rangi Chase. It's just a little soft hands play, but good vision from the youngster.
That try clocked at 52 seconds. And it took them, well, they got a penalty from the first tackle, didn't they? And a couple of more tackles off the back of that. So for Wakefield to concede inside a minute and inside 3 tackles effectively, a shocking start for Richard Agar and the Wakefield Trinity Wildcats, who coming to the back of this game off a 42-12 beating by Warrington. They lost to Castleford over Easter. They've won 1 of 7. You'd have to say that both sides' confidence is fairly fragile, and you can see why from the handling there, as the ball spilled by Chase and Wakefield get it back in good field position.
You hear coaches and players throughout this weekend talking about the ball, respecting possession. Whenever you have it, obviously the objective is to get to your kick, get as far down the pitch as you can, and try to not to make simple errors like Castleford did on that occasion.
Well, over the Magic weekends past, we've seen a lot of points scored, a lot of tries racked up, and in this heat, I think we'll see a lot of points today. Here's a penalty. It's the first of the game to Wakefield. It comes against Stuart Jones this time. They won't be mucking around taking 2 here.
Well, they get numbers in the tackle, and you see Mitchell, he pulls away from that a bit gingerly, but just too long from Stuart Jones, leaving no option but to give the penalty away from Robert Hicks.
Andy Raleigh takes it forward. Tim Smith gets his hands on the ball. Danny Kermon back in the team today. He missed the last match against Warrington. A little bit of an abductor strain, so sat that one out, but plays today. Smith again. Kyle Amor starting today, the ex-Leeds Rhino. To within 5 or 6 metres of the Castleford line as Wakefield look to hit back from that very, very early setback. It's Smith again. Well, he spotted half a gap, but the door was slammed very firmly in his face immediately. The ball's come free. A decision for Robert Hicks, and he says that's a knock-on.
Well, Brett Ferris did a brilliant job then. Gave Tim Smith no time at all. You could see he'd set up for an out-of-the-back play, and Brett Ferris, from inside defender, quite close to the ruck, gets up, puts pressure on. May well have had a hand in there, but got to control the ball as Tim Smith.
Yeah, Tim Smith almost seemed to release that, banking that the referee would see that as a penalty. He was almost taking a little gamble that he could get another set of 6 from there, but put his money on red, it came up black.
Well, he controls the game for Wakefield, and I'm sure Castleford would have done the homework on him. You've got to get up really fast and force him on the inside to make him play early. On that occasion, he loses the ball. Castleford have it back.
Well, Tim Smith in a second spell in the UK. Remember, he was over at Wigan a few years back. Now with the Wakefield Trinity Wildcats. Ian Millward watches on. He made a big decision before the match, actually. Castleford were due to play in black here today, but Ian Millward spotted the temperatures were going to be very, very high, and knowing that black would absorb the heat, says, no, we're going to play in amber shirts today. Wise move from the wily old Castleford coach.
He has a thing about colours. I remember a few years ago, during his St Helens days, used to paint the away changing rooms pink, Rod.
He did, yeah. As the ball finds touch on the far side, Ben Cockayne wasn't interested, let it go. It'll be scrummed down. Wakefield head and ball 10 metres from their own line.
A nice simple kick, chewing up the metres, 20, 30 easy metres. Possession and position is vital in this kind of weather.
Yeah, Chase making his 98th appearance for Castleford today, and has already made his mark on proceedings with that lovely subtle little ball which allowed Jordan Thompson to get the opening try of the day and of the match on 52 seconds. Sykes And Wakefield trying to get moving here from their own line. They've had one spell of possession on that line, but did nothing with it. Phil.
Well, I'm not surprised that they're going to find this hard. When a side concedes 70 points like Castleford did last week, they invariably start with some aggression and fire in the defence. And you've seen here now the Tigers defenders ripping in as hard as they possibly can here and preventing any go forward from the white shirts.
Ayton was at dummy half there. He's had a big soul. Collis, beautiful offload to Peter Fox. And Fox goes away. He's chopped down by Richard Owen. Good tackle that. Richard Owen's actually ill in the week and was a little bit of a doubt. Been suffering with a little bit of a virus, but no ill effects there. That was a great tackle, but there's still men overlapping wide. Poor ball. Mathers will have to go back 10 metres to pick that one up. But what a ball from Dean Collis on this near side that got Peter Fox away. And there was the superb tackle by Richie Owen, last line of defence. Last tackle for Wakefield. High ball beyond everybody and collected in goal. 20-metre restart.
Well, I'm sure that wasn't the kick they were looking for. Dean Collis, an exciting talent, who Peter Fox playing outside and will score an awful lot of tries this year. But they get the ball, they shift it 2 passes, they get the other side of the field, and then they come up with a sloppy pass when they had the numbers. Their execution must be better in good field position, Wakefield.
Yeah, Dean Collis wasn't one of the big headline-making off-season signings from ex-West and ex-Cronulla from the NRL, but he's certainly done a really good job for Wakefield Trinity Wildcats, and great ball handling skills on this near side. But Castleford back in possession on the halfway line right now. They'll be trying to get it into the hands of Danny Orr here and Rangi Chase. They are the 2 go-to men. They didn't play, either of them, last weekend in that shellacking they took at Craven Park, and already made something of a difference. There goes Chase, just dropping off a simple pass. Good offload back to Chase. Look one way, past the other. Thompson, the try-scorer, almost got through Andy Raleigh, but important tackle with the assistance of Paul Sykes. Chase again, and Chase will go to the air. It's quite breezy down there. It could blow away from Ben Cockayne, and it has gone loose. Play on is the call, and it should be a second Castleford try. Is it grounded? No, it's not. It's not grounded, said Robert Hicks. Happy to give the decision without the video ref.
Brilliant goal line defence. Wakefield were scattered all over. And he's a big player, Rhys Williams, of course, on loan from the Warrington Wolves. Welsh born and bred. Has every right to get that ball down, but Danny Washbrook and Richie Mathers deny Castleford another try.
Well, Rhys Williams is actually playing against Wakefield for the second match running. He was on the Warrington side that played against the Wildcats at Bellevue last weekend prior to joining Cass on loan. Hasn't had many opportunities for Warrington, but understandable when they've got Joel Monaghan on one wing and the free-scoring Chris Riley on the other, so Tony Smith has farmed him out on loan to Cass. He was on loan at Crusaders last year as well. Scored for the Crusaders at Magic Weekend. Sykes, has he overcooked that? My goodness, he's not overcooked it, he's put it into the front row of the crowd.
Will be very disappointed. Kicking on the 4th tackle, they were finding it very difficult to make yards up the pine. You can just see he slices it off the foot. Goes into row Z.
It was a brilliant defensive set. Castleford.
Listen to that move.
Richie Agar, the Wakefield coach, knows
let's keep it that way. Come on, boys.
it's difficult at the minute for them to get out of their own end because of the enthusiasm.
Well, Sykes preferred a standoff by Richard Agar to Isaac John. Well, that kick has put a lot of pressure on this Wakefield defence here, because Cass start a new set 20 metres out from the Wakefield line, and any coach will tell you that spells danger. Any set that starts on and around your 20-metre mark for the opposition is a potential problem. Brett Ferris had Youngquest outside him, opted to take the tackle. It's 2-man tackle. Now Chase showing it and then taking the tackle himself, still going as he was wrestled to the ground. A left-hand handoff, but he's going to be barreled to the ground by 2 Wakefield Trinity Wildcats. Big tackle on Rangi Chase, and if his match fitness is in doubt, it was being examined right there and right then.
Not just his match fitness, but his temperament. There were plenty of bristles on the back of the neck from both sets of players then.
This is Jackson taking it up to within 15 metres of the Wakefield line. Final tackle. What has Chase got in that famous box of tricks? Danny Orr, a little chip through, and was he bonked? No, he wasn't, says the referee. And Richard Mathers, the former Castleford Tiger, collects on his own line.
That was about the spot where Tevez went there, wasn't it, here 2 weeks ago, but there was no decision from the official. And Wakefield now have the difficult task again against this tigerish defence, coming at them as fast as they possibly can. This Chandler's trying to shift it, but there's no gain again on that play. Wonderful defence from the Castleford Tigers.
Yeah, well, Joey Barton was the man who made all the headlines. Big Super League fan, Joey Barton. That was round about the spot, as Phil Clark was pointing out, where the incident happened. Here come the Wildcats. Cockayne comes in off his wing and is greeted by three Castleford Tigers who knock him down pronto. Some meaty challenges coming in. Oliver Holmes was one of them in there. That's collected by Owen, and Owen can make plenty of ground here, and the next play the ball will be on the halfway line.
Well, Wakefield find it very hard to, I said earlier on, get up the park, only 19 metres with the ball in hand. They probably need a couple of speed sets because they're so dominant, Castleford, the speed of the line, their aggression in the defence, and the willingness to work very hard for each other and turn the opponents over.
Good work there from Nick Youngquest to get the quick play the ball, and from Rangi Chase to spot players in an offside position, and Castleford get the penalty.
He almost had the trigger from from Robert Hicks, who told Kyle Amo, you're offside, and that was the green light for Rangi Chase to run into him.
Tap taken. Neither team interested in kicking penalties. This is Danny Orr, drops it off to Ferris, and Ferris offloads again. Important tackle from Andy Raleigh, and it had to be two. Castleford knocking on the door once more. They've scored once and been held up over the line on a second occasion. Orr to Chase. He was shaping for a long ball, which is picked off. It's picked off here, and Wakefield could get a shot breakaway try.
Vince Mellors is
looks
flying.
like a real chance. Vince Mellors is going the length of the field, and Vince Mellors from one end to the other. It looked all over a Castleford try. It's ended up with 4 points at the other end of the paddock as Vince Mellors went the length.
Well, there are big gambles, and Vince Mellors, the Wakefield Wildcat, left centre, takes the gamble. It's a long pass from the Cas Tigers, and Mellors jumps out, puts himself between the passer and the receiver. We'll just see it now. Lots of players in motion. There's the long pass, and Vince Mellors pins his ears back. Kirk Dixon's trying to get there, but it's all over. Great stuff from the Wildcats.
Well, if Vince Mellors comes out the line, he's got to make sure he comes up with the ball, and he pouches this. He knew exactly what Danny Orr was going to do, and he puts himself in a position to take the ball, and under all the pressure on their own line, the forwards will be running up to Vince Mellors, patting him on the back, saying thanks for that, we needed it.
Usain Bolt-style celebration from Mellors, the former Crusader, and if Sykes can tag on the extras, it'll be 6 apiece, and Castleford and Ian Millwood in the stand will be scratching their heads and thinking, how on earth are we levelling this game? We should be miles in front.
Fascinating now to see the response from Wakefield, having scored a try and give themselves a chance back into this match. Can they carry the ball and make more ground? Can they be more competitive and play at the pace with which the Tigers have started in the opening 10 or so?
Sykes converts, and it is a level game at 6 apiece as Wakefield burgled that try through Vince Mellors with Castleford pressing and tied the score 6 each.
And may well have been a bit disrespectful on the game plan of Wakefield. Obviously, Richie Agar has looked at this play, he's given his players the information, and when Castleford set up, and when it looks like this, there's a chance and a possibility of one of Rangi Chase's passes that there's something there for you.
We talked about Chase not playing for the last 3 games and about his match fitness. Was that a sign possibly that he's just slightly out of sync with the rest of the teammates? Is that possible?
One thing we know about Rangi Chase is he will throw passes whether they're on or not. He's a gambler, he's a risk taker, and I don't think for 1 minute he thought that Vince Mellors would get that ball, but it was great anticipation or game plan.
6 each then, Wakefield and Castleford. When they last met, Castleford won pretty comfortably. That was at Bellevue over Easter, 34-16. And most people will remember the big game they played in 2006, the game dubbed the £1 million match, which determined relegation back in the day. As Wakefield get a penalty, they won that match. Castleford were relegated, and Wakefield back on level terms here, and a penalty to boot.
Well, they've got a spring in a step. Frankie Mariano earning the penalty. Kirk Dixon just trying to slow him down, turn him onto his back, and it was the second effort that Robert Hicks gave the penalty away for. But big, strong drives is what they're after, getting some good, decent field position, because Tim Smith, we all know that he can play, but he needs to play up the right end of the park.
Amazing how one incident, one bit of pocket picking from Vince Mellor has turned the tide in this match. Ayton, and now Amor getting through his fair share of work. We're just past the 15-minute mark here at the Etihad Stadium in Manchester in the first game of the Magic Weekend. Smith drops it off to Raleigh, and Raleigh offloads to Kermon, and Danny Kermon is close to the line. He's smothered by three Tigers. Well, a vital challenge. Mitchell came in to make the stop right on the try line. Ayton, there's men over on this near side. Mathers goes himself. Richard Mathers has put Wakefield in front. 2 tries in a couple of minutes for the Wildcats, and they've clawed their way in front.
And that's the skills from Tim Smith, who sets up the field position. He has 2 players running at 2 defenders, and he just holds the pass up, holds it, and passes it when it's the right time, and one defender's jumping out the line. It's the bit of the half break they're looking for Richie Mathers to go in and score the try.
Good players can make those decisions right close to the net, really close to the line. And again, you have to say that Castleford are making it difficult for themselves with the penalties that they're giving away. Kirk Dixon may well have had his arm trapped by Frankie Mariano. Mathers dragging the defenders. It's Brett Ferris who just gives too much space for Richie Mathers, who steps off his right foot, places that ball over the line. But you're right, Tez, Tim Smith times his pass to perfection, has 2 options, and has the rugby league intelligence to choose the right one.
I think the Tigers players have let Richard Owen, the fullback, down a little bit there. It was an amazing stop when the break was made by Kermon, and I think 1 or 2 of them should have perhaps been in better position and made it more difficult for Mathers to score that. But again, we've just seen how in the space of 2 minutes the whole momentum of this game has shifted.
Sykes is lining up a kick which will turn Wakefield's lead from 4 to 6 if he converts it. They've scored 2 tries in a couple of minutes here, Wakefield, to come off the canvas. Castleford had bossed the first 13 minutes or so, and now they find themselves 6 points adrift. It's 12-6.
Well, it's amazing, isn't it, how Wakefield have responded, and they were under an awful lot of pressure. But again, Tim Smith, you put him in decent field position, and it's his pass selection. Just watch when he goes at the line. 2 plays to pick from. He holds the ball up perfectly, and he's directing at the back, telling his troops what he's after. And again, it's just good read from the standoff. Exactly what the coach, Richard Agar's, looking for.
2 goals on the day already for Paul Sykes. A couple last weekend which took him up to 1,000 points in the competition. Only the 15th man in the history of Super League to go into 4 figures in terms of points. He's up to 1,000 and beyond now, as Richard Mathers' try is converted. Mathers, in fact, biting the hand that feeds him, still on loan from Castleford to the Wakefield Wildcats. I wonder if they're thinking, why didn't we put a clause in the contract to stop him playing against us? But he's on loan here and biting the hand that feeds him. And here's Cockayne going siding through, an offload that had a little bit of a risk element to it. It goes to ground. And Castleford dodged one there because Wakefield were threatening a 3rd try.
Rod talked about speed earlier on, and that's exactly what Ben Cockayne needs to do, and the outside backs, because in these conditions when it's really hot, you know that the big forwards in the middle of the park are going to get loose, and they need to be tighter, because it's going to be a scootathon this weekend.
Scootathon. 18 minutes gone. Wakefield lead Castleford 12-6. Wakefield looking for a win that would see them leapfrog Castleford in the table. Either side looking massive long shots to reach the playoffs, so one of the big goals would be to finish above their near neighbours. Here's Chase, who just drops a little ball off once more. Simple kind of stuff. Lee Mitchell takes it forward. Danny Orr's gone in a dummy half. Stuart Jones says, no, leave this one to me, and Chase will hoist this high to the far wing where Ben Cockayne is under it for Wakefield, but can't get hold of it. Picked up by Williams, who throws a wild ball inside, and the Wildcats will snap it up once more in the form of Frankie Mariano.
Well, Kirk Dixon does a superb job of getting up high and collecting that ball, but sadly the pass on the end of it wasn't good enough, letting Wakefield off the hook. Just look how high he jumps up, bumps Ben Cockayne out of the way. He had a Castleford player right in front of him.
Well, last year they met in the Magic Weekend. That was the opening round of fixtures at Cardiff's Millennium Stadium, and Castleford won that in a canter, 40 points to 20.
Yeah, good. Go.
boot on the other foot at the moment. Now it's literally the ball is on the boot of Tim Smith, and he has punted it far too long. The wind is quite deceptive. On the TV pictures it might look like much, but it is down there.
I think we've seen 3 or 4 kicks here now affected by the wind. Twice the ball's gone out on the full. The last attacking kick we saw from Castleford almost looked as though it was going into the in-goal area and then was brought back 2 or 3 metres short of the try line. And I think it's difficult for every player at the moment to cope with where to put the kick and where it's going to land.
It's blustery, Phil, isn't it? That's the thing. It's gusting and it's not consistent, the wind, I don't think.
Very difficult, very hard to judge, and I suppose that will be a difficulty for the players today, measuring that, because we know a team puts about 20 attacking kicks in a game, either to gain ground or put their opponents under pressure. The quality of those 20 kicks very often determines the winner.
The grass cut very short here on this Etihad field. In fact, this pitch will be relayed next week. This will be the last action today and tomorrow on the pitch that Manchester City won the Premier League on. Lee Mitchell, who would be just about on the penalty spot there in the football markings as he takes it to within 10 metres of the Wakey line. Cass looking to level the scores. Danny Orsbor's a long flat pass which threatened danger. It threatened to put Kirk Dixon over. They may go over anyway. They probably will. Stuart Jones thinks he's got the try, and more importantly, Robert Hicks thinks he has as well. And Castleford are now within a goal kick of tying it up.
Oh, that's a soft try to concede. Stuart Jones, he knew exactly what he was going to do then. Ben Kane was caught at marker. Did they expect to throw the ball out wide? He just steps out and just steps off his right foot to go over for what is one of the most simplest tries. But it disappoints you when you're defending to concede tries like that. Danny Orr with a good pass trying to set Kirk Dixon free. And Ben Kane's caught there. Stuart Jones gets in and he just steps out too far, Ben Kane. And you can't do that. The most important thing you've got to do is wrap up the man with the ball. Don't overplay, don't overshoot, and that's exactly what Ben Kane does there.
Well, coaches will talk about defending the threat. The ball is always the threat. And Stuart Jones, who's playing at hooker today, obviously, the Castleford Tigers in Ian Millward, giving Rangi Chase the responsibility of the acting half, probably sharing that a little bit with Danny Orr as well. But it all comes down to that missed kick from Tim Smith. You're right, Phil, kicks are going to be very costly. Low and hard from distance and then high to make them unpredictable in your good ball set.
And the kicks after a try, well, they're equally important. Can you put this one over?
Yeah, equally tricky too, Phil, aren't they? Only needs a gust to appear just at the wrong moment here for Kirk Dixon, and that's what happened as he hooked it across the face of the post. So Castile trail. It's 12-10, 22 points in 22 minutes, so we're racing along at a point a minute. Perhaps a good time to point out the record number of points in a Magic weekend game. We've seen plenty of high-scoring games over the years in the Magic. 84 the record, Murrayfield 2010, Warrington hammered Salford 68-16. Ian Millward's team have 10, Wakefield have 12.
And Rod, you only have to look back to 2008 and Wakefield Castleford games. They're not predictable. In 2008, 54 points to 16, it finished in favour of the Wildcats.
So Castleford have the ball back. 2 tries apiece then. Jones and Thompson for Cass, Mellors and Mathers for the Wildcats, in what's already turning out to be a pretty entertaining opener to this 7-game feast of rugby league. Also on the bill today, Warrington against Widnes, and then Hull FC versus Hull KR. Penalty, the whistle blows from Robert Hicks, 8 in the offender, penalty Castleford, 10 minutes inside their own half.
Well, again, they're getting the numbers in, Rod, but again, it just seems to be overplaying in the actual defensive stakes. They've sent Ali Lawatiti on now to try and add a bit of steel on that left edge for them. I'm sure he's going to be looking at who to run at. Danny Orr, maybe Rangi Chase. He's a player that you'd need to wrap up in these conditions.
My word. He started against Warrington last week, on the bench this week against Wakefield, had a 4-match injury absence before that. But you're right, Terry, tiring players, tiring defence. Ali Lawatiti will prey on that with his wonderful ball-handling skills, but at the moment having to defend as his side concede back-to-back penalties, and that is something that always sounds the alarm bells for a coach.
Well, you don't need to do that. You only give penalties away. Maybe a bit unlucky on that occasion, but you normally only give penalties away when you're under the cosh.
Taken quickly by Castleford, in a hurry here to put some more pressure on. They led early, then they were behind. They still trail by a couple of points. Stuart Jones has just scored going in at dummy half. Again, no secret that it'll go towards Danny or Rangi Chase. They both handle the ball in this move, and Chase is looking to get Richard Owen into space round that far side, and he can't stay in the field of play. The Wakefield defence muscled up on that far side as Owen looked to find the corner.
Was it Rangi Chase who holds the defensive line up? Richard Owen comes around the back on a sweeping line, and just look at the defence from Wakefield. They don't overcommit, they get numbers there, and there's 3 men in attendance to push Richard Owen into touch, who tries to offload the ball to keep it in play. Good defence, Wakefield.
Yeah, it was always going down a cul-de-sac in the end, wasn't he, as Ben Cockayne and Richard Mathers got things absolutely right. Owen with a couple of tries against Wakefield in that big win over Easter, denied this time.
Well, whichever team's going to win this game, and there isn't a great deal between these two sides, has to be able to defend the line at times. The nature of rugby league means a team will get close to your try line, but the winners are the ones who can go away without conceding points, which is what Wakefield have just done.
I think if we look at slightly bit closer to that past incident, we may well have seen Rhys Williams and Richard Owen not having the synergy, not having the understanding.
Coming up after this match, we've got a special for you, a Super League Supermen special with Brian Carney, talking to the late Artie Beetson. Don't miss that. And then following up on the field, Warrington Wolves against the Widnes Vikings. It's the second place Wolves against the rock bottom Vikings. Could we see one of the biggest upsets in Super League history here at the Magic Weekend?
Movement! Come on, Vin. Wait, go.
Quarter of an hour to go before half-time. Youngquest carts it up to within 10 metres of the halfway line. Castleford looking for the go-ahead score. They've had pressure on that line, haven't been able to do anything with it in the last few minutes. Trying to force something out of this just before half-time. Taking some putting down on the halfway line. Nathan Massey. Now the kick comes. Well, that's gone further up than it has forward, that's for sure. That's a great take from Mellors. We've already seen him pick up that pass and go the length. Good handling under the high ball.
Well, he didn't take his eyes off that then, Rod. But just watch the way that Castleford are playing. Rangi Chase is getting out from dummy half, and even when he gets out and they're playing direct, you see the shot of Mellors again. They're targeting the forwards, they're targeting the tight six of Castleford, of Wakefield, should I say, and they're taking an awful lot of energy out of them, because them same men have to bring the ball forward and try and win on all the collisions.
The Australian Dean Collis taken down in a 3-man Castleford tackle. Ayton is at dummy half. This is Steve Southern, the Wakefield club captain, off the substitutes bench to try and inject a bit of muscle into proceedings. And Sykes will boot to ball here. Again, a very high ball. Both teams knowing that the wind is blowing and they're forced to knock on. They may well get the try. Lauatiti picks it up and throws a wild pass inside, and they have absolutely butchered that. The advantage had come and gone, said Robert Hicks, and I make him right on that. Should Lauatiti have taken the tackle, or is Ali the gambler got it wrong there?
It's not in his nature. We talked about Rangi Chase always taking the risk. Lauatiti puts the footwork on, passes it inside, and it's just a poor decision.
Well, it wasn't Ali Lauatiti, it was Tim Smith who passes the ball. And you could see that Phil was talking about the swirling wind earlier. You could see that Brett Ferris was who gets it all wrong. Sloppy play, sloppy play.
Well, it's all going to come back to the same thing in the end, isn't it? Because Rhys Williams is knocked on, so they're pretty much going to get the scrum in virtually the same spot as they would have done, about 10 metres further away from the try line, but they're going to get out of the go.
Well, it's where you turn the ball over, and Rhys Williams, the pass wasn't the best from Holmes. Maybe should have took his time and picked that ball up cleanly, but it's all right saying that when we sat at home or we're watching it from up here, when there's players and Wakefield defenders coming up and putting pressure on Rhys Williams, who's probably having a little look at what was going on in front of him.
And let's not underestimate what Rhys Williams has had to contend with this week. He's joined a new club. 20-30 seconds before he's made a mistake under a high bomb, and that affects players. The better players, it affects them for a shorter period of time, and they can deal with what they need to do next.
That was Tim Smith threatening the line once more. Danny Orr had to come in with Oliver Holmes to make an important tackle. Mathers, who scored one of the Wakefield tries already this afternoon. And it's the Wildcats knocking on the door as we approach the 28-minute mark here in the Magic Weekend in Manchester. Paul Sykes slips, no excuses, the pitch is perfect, the grass is very, very short out there. Southern will take it forward, spotted half a gap. That closed up very quickly. A couple of tackles left in the sequence here for the Wildcats. Smith again gets his hands on the ball. Well, it's going to be Ben Cockayne, and Cockayne steps inside, but then runs into two Castleford Tigers tacklers. Ken Holmes doing the tackling on the far side. Tim Smith, a little grubber through, which could hit the post, does hit the post, and is that a try to Wakefield? I think it is, and Robert Hicks thinks it is as well, and the Wildcats have stretched their lead. Steve Southern, the captain, first to react. It was a great kick because it went in and around that post area, and that is always dangerous.
Well, we've been talking about the kicking game, maybe the wind and the swirling wind inside the stadium contributing to the unpredictability of what's already an unpredictable rugby league ball. But Steve Southern, who I'm a great admirer of, just gets on with his job, and he's just chasing up, ready possibly to make the next tackle. But the ball bounces off the post pad, I think. There it is, right up into the Australians' arms. Tremendous try and a great comeback and hit back from the Wildcats.
It's become an art form, that, hasn't it, over recent seasons, with those big post pads that are now on vogue. But the kickers are so good, they can aim for them now, and they do that to good effect. And he had that absolutely right there, Tim Smith. Sykes then, looking to stretch this Wakefield lead. It stands at 6 points prior to the kick. He's trying to make it 18-10 it'll be if Sykes can convert here. He's on loan too, like we mentioned. Richard Mathers on loan from Cass, Sykes on loan from the Bulls. Up the road at Bradford, we'll see them tomorrow against the Rhinos in a big derby dust-up as Sykes strokes it through, and the Wildcats are up by 8.
Again, you look at Tim Smith. We talk about him all the time because when he's up that end of the park, he does come up with the plays that he wants to come up with. He was caught in two minds. Peter Fox and Dean Collis were calling for the ball to go in the earth, but he knew that if he got the ball into the middle of the park, Steve Southern would be chasing hard, and that's exactly what he did. He put himself in the right part of the pitch to score the try.
We've seen plenty of times this season, haven't we, how important it is not to turn the ball over inside your own red zone. Even more important today, I'd suggest, in this heat. You don't want to be doing a lot of goal line defence in this heat, do you?
No, and I suppose the Tigers would blame themselves, wouldn't they, for that handling error around their own 30-40 metre mark. Got time, though, now to do something about it. And the next time they have pressure on their own line, they'll have to come up with a better answer on that last play. Although, again, you've got to say, that's brilliant skill from Tim Smith. And the patience from Steve Southern. When we saw it again in the replay, he just held his stride back to ensure that he was behind the kicker when the ball hit his foot.
One from the training paddock, that. Smith and Southern were in perfect harmony. Smith's kick, there he is, marshalling the troops. And Southern's try. Still arguably most famous in this country for getting injured and giving Sam Tompkins a chance for Wigan at Hull KR.
Keep coming.
As Wakefield take the secondary tap from the penalty, and Smith again has his hands on the football. It's Matt James bringing it forward, returning from a one-match ban in place of Paul Johnson in this Wakefield side that lead their near neighbours, the Castleford Tigers, by 8 points. There's Paul Ayton, the PNG international, wrestled to the ground, but Castleford having to go through some more defensive work here. Coming off the bench is Kyle Wood there.
Well, that's an interesting substitution. Kyle Wood comes onto the pitch and Ayton goes to loose forward, really speeding up the play of the ball. I think that might contribute to Oliver Holmes. I think it's Nathan Massey who can't control the play of the ball, can't control the speed, because it's changed, the dynamics has changed through Wood coming on.
I'll tell you the other thing they can't control. Look forward, play on, says the referee. Castleford can't control their discipline because they're giving away penalty after penalty here, and there can only be one result from that, and it'll be points and plenty of them. As Ayton goes over the line and claims to have grounded it, the ball squirmed free as Paul Ayton tried to force it down, and Robert Hicks wants a second opinion from video ref James Child.
I'm not so sure whether he gets this ball down here, and he offers himself, he hits a hole. You can see he's trying to spin round because he knows that he's going to go over the line on his back. There you go, there's the answer. It's a clean loss from Paul Ayton. But Castleford, they need to be tighter. Wakefield, every time they seem to be running, they're running with conviction, they're poking the nose through the line. generating quick play the balls, no problem, this is no try.
If they win the game, Rod, they win this game, Castleford, in that minute for me. To prevent that Wakefield score, Jordan Thompson does remarkably well. Richard Owen, the fullback's there as well, trying to help out. And they've just done enough here to prevent another Wakefield score when they were building some momentum and looking a bit unstoppable. 4 penalties, as you've said, there in quick succession towards the Wakefield side against Castleford have helped them to get to this part of the field, but haven't quite scored 4 points.
Well, James Child has had a long look at that to come up with the conclusion that Paul Ayton has not scored for the Wakefield Trinity Wildcats, as we suspected. It will be a 20-metre restart. He was hurt there in the act of trying to score. It would have been his first try for the Wakefield Wildcats, and it would have put them 14 in front.
Rod,
it didn't.
It's important now for Castleford to get to the kick and get the ball as far away from their try line and come up with another good defensive set of 6. Because at the minute they seem to be making a couple of errors, then giving away a couple of penalties, and little runs like this from the likes of Nick Youngquist will help the big men.
It's been a very bad patch, this, for the Castleford Tigers in this match. A bad 10 minutes or so. They've conceded a try, but also been put under a lot of other pressure as well. It could have been a lot worse than that, in all honesty. They could have conceded more points. The momentum can swing, though. The pendulum can swing here. Let's see what the right boot swinging of Rangi Chase can do here. Climbing is Youngquest, and for a moment I thought he was going to get there above Peter Fox, who did real well to collect that, but under so much pressure, it's a goal line dropout force. Youngquest wasn't far away from plucking the apple from the tree.
Well, it's a good take from Fox, but it's an even better chase from the Castleford Tigers, and Jordan Thompson, who saved the try over to our right for his team, then ends up forcing a goal line dropout. Just watch his reaction. He stops and prevents Fox from getting down and just gets him over the try line. Terrific work.
Yeah, Jordan Thompson, who scored the first try of this match after 52 seconds. Seems a long time ago now. Castleford led 6-0 after a minute. They now trail 18-10. Wakefield doing well to ride the early storm from the Castleford Tigers to now lead by 8, but pressure now on the Wildcats. Can Castleford turn it round? Adam Milner coming off the bench to go in at dummy half. Danny Orr just drops off a simple little pass there, examining Wakefield down the middle, examining Paul Ayton. Here goes Milner again, squirming his way through. And again, it's Ayton making an important challenge. Now it's Rangi Chase. Chase looking for Dixon. He's got Dixon, but a good tackle from Sykes, and Ali Lawatiti coming in on the stop. Final tackle right on the Wakefield Trinity Wildcats goal line. Chase, a ball that's hoisted to the line, loose in goal. Youngquest tries to get it down, and even Nick Youngquest isn't convinced that he stayed in the in-goal area. It looks like for all money that he was out of play when he got it down. The cameras will tell us what really happened.
Well, I think what they're trying to see whether there's an obstruction on the Wakefield receiver. I think everybody's onside. It's a towering kick. Does anybody obstruct? There's a bit of pressure in the back of Peter Fox, but not enough, you don't think. Now, does Youngquest get it down before the line? Yes, he does. Brilliant. How does he do that?
Well, Barry always say go on the player's reaction. Nick Youngquest didn't seem remotely interested. He's either very cool and knew he'd scored, or he's even fooled himself.
The first fake green line you can see would be the goal line, wouldn't it, here when Manchester City play, but it's the white line, it's inside the white line, and it's a
try! He honestly didn't believe he'd scored, did he? And I think you're right. He thought that the green line there was probably that he'd put it down on the goal line. Even look at Youngquest. He still doesn't believe he scored. You have, Nick. You've got your 9th Super League try of the season. We saw him getting a hat-trick against Witness live on Sky Sports a few weeks back. And that could be a priceless try for the Tigers.
Well, you just have to place yourself where the action is, and you know, with people like Rangi Chase and Danny Orr, they'll kick to the corners, and the pressure was there. There were 3 Wakefield players, 3 Cas players, and Nick Youngquest just stays pretty low to the surface because he knows if this ball comes forward, he's at the back ready to pounce, and the focus to get that ball and put it down. Exceptional play from the wingman.
Super skills from Nick Youngquest. Gymnastics. Par excellence as Dixon strikes the conversion through, and suddenly we've got a 2-point game. It's 18-16.
Well, the important thing there for Castleford and for Nick Youngquest was that one of his teammates challenged for that possession. So many attacking kicks are put in without a teammate making the effort to cause problems for the defenders. The last thing you want here is somebody in the air challenging for the ball, but that's what it is. Is it Brett Ferris, who I think is one of Castleford's best players? He gets up with that left arm and helps get the ball back for his side. 6 more points, and they're now back in it.
Yeah, Brett Ferris, the ex-Wakefield Wildcat, of course. So quite a few guys out there playing against their old club. Oh, what a fumble, what a kerfuffle. Rangi Chase has just blundered big time. He has handed Wakefield a big set of 6 here, 20 metres from the Tigers' line.
Well, Rangi Chase, and we're going to debate and discuss whether Rangi Chase will run out of gas or the lack of match fitness or match sharpness will affect him. But when he's touched the ball, when he's had involvements, it's been good for the Tigers. But there are mistakes with Rangi Chase.
Yeah, that could be a big one, because Wakefield have got a 5-star attacking position here coming up. A couple of tackles gone in this sequence. So often, you have to see some stats on how many times a team makes an error coming out with the ball after they scored. And here's a try for Wakefield. An easy try for the Wakefield Trinity Wildcats. Danny Washbrook has just gone through a double-decker bus-size hole, and Chase's error has cost his team, because Wakefield concede and then score, and the gap goes back up to 6.
Well, again, it's just the timing of the run, and Danny Washbrook running onto the ball in a space. And we say all the time, your halfbacks just want to go along the line, picking out your runners, but just a simple fumble. Rangi Chase goes to scoot this ball up because there's a Wakefield player, it's because there's a Castleford player left along on the floor, and then look at that. That is Tim Smith at his best yet again. The ball at the line, pulls out the defender, which is Stuart Jones, who tries to stop him from getting this pass away. He just falls for the sucker punch, and Danny Washbrook, simple try.
Kind of try that anybody would love to score, put into that huge hole. I think even you'd have scored from there, Terry, once you'd gone through that gap.
I don't know, I think I would have dropped it, but Rod.
But the brilliance to put him in the hole was something that Tim Smith done. If we get to see it again, just look at what he does with his feet. OK, he catches the ball, he's got the ball in front of him, but he changes direction subtly, and a 6 or 12-inch change of direction with your feet makes the difference to the defenders, and it draws them to a different position. Subtlety, but 6 more points, I think.
Tim Smith scored in the first game he played for Wakefield at Widnes. He was man of the match then. He hasn't scored a try since, but boy, he's made a few, and a couple today for a start, as Paul Sykes looking to put the Wildcats further in front. 22-16 at the moment. Make that 24-16 to the Wildcats. But I tell you what, Phil, you know, we know you have an abundance of stats to your fingertips. It would be very interesting to see one. How many times a team that's just scored makes an error in the next set of 6?
Well, we'll have a look at that on Boots and All on Wednesday, as we take another look at the change of direction from Tim Smith and the delay in just throwing that pass. The best players make things look easy. In fact, the best sports people, tennis, golf, cricket, make their skills look simple, and Tim Smith's just done that right there.
40 points in the first 40 minutes. Well, in the first 38 minutes, in point of fact, there's still power to add here for these two teams who've produced 7 tries between them, and what a shot that is. Bang! Well, Steve Southern felt that, and that's for sure, and he had to look up to find out who on earth that was.
Well, that's Steve Southern in a nutshell for you. He runs straight and hard every time he has the ball, but there was a reception committee, and look at him. Give me the ball again.
Well, he certainly wanted to know who or what had hit him. But it hasn't stopped him getting straight back into the fray, and that's a little kick forward from Kyle Wood, and it's a good one too, because it's going to split the two at the back, and it's just going to go dead. But even that is too bad a result for the Wildcats as they set their line 30 metres from the cast try line.
Well, just too long, but look at that, the defensive line is set. Castleford players have to retreat to get behind the ball, but silly penalty here.
Well, that could be big. That could be big. With 80 seconds left, Cass are going to start their final set of this half, and they're going to start it about 20 metres from the Wakefield line. So instead of having to force their way out of their own half and use up plenty of gas and plenty of tackles, they're setting up base camp in a very attacking position. This could be a possible game changer in the final minute of the half.
Rod, neither side in the second half can keep inviting the opposition into their own half, because we've saw it on a number of occasions, off a penalty or off a mistake, they're conceding tries on the back of it. Whoever's the most clinical in the second half will go on to win the game.
The two coaches watch on anxiously as Chase tries to go through a hole. Ian Millwood wants to see a try. Richard Agar wants to see some goal line D here from his side. Thompson, who scored the first try of the match, is within a couple of metres of getting a second on the afternoon. 30 seconds on the game clock in this half as Chase, well, that's a party piece. Oh, he's showing us all his tricks, and he's still found Danny Orr, and it's a try on here. What a try it is too! What a try it is for the Castleford Tigers. Oliver Holmes is the try scorer, but in all honesty, you can put it down to Rangi Chase, the man, the king of the assists, and what an assist that was.
The man's a magician. You almost thought he'd fumbled the ball. And those of us who watch the game, those of us who watch Castleford Tigers, know how important Rangi Chase is. But what he does to defenders, he worries them. And they hang off, they don't know what he's going to do. Watch what he does here. Flips it up to himself. Takes it, offloads it, virtually as he's falling onto the floor. And 2 or 3 passes after the initial brilliance of Rangi Chase, Oliver Holmes gets Castleford back into this game. Millington probably could have scored it himself.
It looks a touch forward, that
yeah,
pass.
the ball from Danny Orr is what the Wakefield players and fans are arguing about. It looked questionable, but that doesn't detract from the astonishing ball handling of Rangi Chase during that move. It was nothing to do with Chase, that pass what followed. I mean, and that's what most people will remember of that try, was what Chase produced. The siren has gone. Dixon is going to add another 2. Or is he? They may come to regret that missed opportunity. The half-time whistle goes.